I don't need nobody to tell me about living in America. Coming up on the Fraudcast.
What the hell was Michael thinking with that shit?
He wasn't thinking at all.
It's like, here, I'm going to have Angela come and talk to a group of young women about living in Nigeria. Because Angela loves talking to young women.
He didn't know it was going to be just the women. He thought his boys.
He doesn't know an awful lot. I mean, is he leaning on the TLC fixer that much?
Was it staged? Do you think it was TLC staged?
Well, if TLC's producers
everything
have half
in TLC
a brain,
is staged when it comes to like, I'm going to meet their friends or I'm going to go give a seminar. Of course, they're all fucking planted.
Well, of course, because in their mind, first off, it's like Angela doesn't want to live in Nigeria, so she's going to freak out about that. She's going to have women who think that, who think things about Georgia, and she's going to flip out about that because she's got Georgia pride. And then they've been around her for 5 minutes and know that she hates younger women and she freaks out at them. And
but, the whole thing, like, it was very confusing because I understood it to be Michael was going to have her talk to people who were Americans living in Nigeria and they could give her what it's like living in Nigeria. And she thought it was like people are going to tell her what it's like living in America, which doesn't make any sense. But that's what she was mad about. That's why she was saying, nobody's going to tell me about how to live in America, which makes sense. I'm with her on that. Like, why do I need you to tell me what it's going to be like to live where I live?
Maybe they were sharing their experience of living in America. I think it wasn't about her. It was how they felt. But, like, he wants to get to America. I don't think he cares what life is like in Georgia. And with Angela around your arm, you don't have to worry about shit out there. Like, she's going to take care of you. Don't worry.
And look, Mima is a proud supporter of the Second Amendment. Ain't nobody going to mess with her, Michael.
Oh, my God. Like, try to come up and say something to Michael. She will slide you down the mudslide. Like,
she'll suffocate you in her special compartment.
God. Well, we're going to get to more of that a little later in the show. But for now, we take you inside the episode.
So we got some more announcements about the tell-alls. So we found out that the tell-all recording for this season of Happily Ever After is going to be in a September-ish time frame. And they want to have it in person as opposed to the far more superior Before the 90 Days tell-all, which was done virtually. I can tell you I shed many tears about this information.
Like, it was so much better.
It was really good.
It was so much better digitally.
So much better on Skype.
So much messier. Loved it.
Yeah.
I hate the fake live in studio thing, because then they have it go be live in studio, then reality show. Just the tone is all over the place. It drives me nuts. I really can't stand that shit. And just for people who don't remember, the Other Way Tell All is going to be in an August time frame for recording.
Kenneth and Armando came for the Fraudcast. Well, not really. I mean, they didn't come for us. They wanted to clarify our story from last week, where we talked about how we'd come across pictures of one of Kenneth's daughters wishing Armando a happy birthday, and she posted pictures that made it look like she was there in Mexico with Armando on his birthday, like maybe a past birthday. And we questioned whether they don't know how old he is or how young he is, really. We questioned that storyline, because if you're there in Mexico celebrating his birthday with him, how would you not know what his actual birthday was, right? Like, you would know his actual age. So that was our speculation last week based on these pictures. And so Kenneth wanted to clarify. He clarified on my Instagram stories, and he talked to me about it, in that the picture that she had posted, the daughter had posted, was an old picture of her and Armando, like a throwback picture from a time she had been there. She had not been there on his birthday. She was wishing him a happy birthday and posting this old picture of the two of them. That she had maybe only spent a total of like 12 days with him, I believe. And of his family, the only one she had met was Hannah. And so there was no reason for her to know Armando's real age. So he wanted to clarify that that dinner conversation about Armando's real age was in fact real and it was not scripted. So that's the other side, and that's the full story.
Draw your own conclusion.
I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like, there's a lot of time I go to people's or friends' birthday parties, and I really don't care how old they are.
Right.
Honestly, I don't care.
You know, and like when we talked about this last week, like it's super low level. There's nothing really fraudulent necessarily about it. It was, hey, we saw these these pictures. We're speculating about what it could mean, and Kenneth came and cleared it up. So
I like when the cast comes and clears it up.
You know, it makes sense. His story makes absolute sense. Posting a throwback picture, sure, yeah.
NDAs must not exist for this The Other Way cast. Do they exist at all anymore? Because I mean, I'm just wondering.
there's just no teeth behind them. They never enforce them. I guess
not.
So.
Well, if the cast doesn't care about money, then it has no real. There's no way there's no
I don't
meaningful
know
punishment.
that TLC actually, aside from not paying them, which I don't know how often that's still happening. There's clauses in the contract that allow them to go after the cast member. But
it's all bark and no bite because I have not
damages,
seen.
Yeah,
or they're taking care of it so behind the scenes that no one knows because it's supposed to be like I think around $50,000 per incident, whatever
something
they
like
consider
that,
an incident, right?
But how much?
So far,
how much
I don't
more
think
money,
any of them have.
Like, how much more money are Kenneth and Armando making from Cameo versus what they're getting from the show? I mean, seriously.
Already,
you know that their Cameo queue is like out the window. That's my speculation.
Are they on Cameo already?
They are already. Like, these people are on Cameo like the second day that 90 Day Fiance is announced.
Oh my god!
It's like flies to things flies like. Except
I don't blame
Sweet.
them. Do it while you're relevant because as soon as the next season comes, like people
You're
aren't
no longer relevant,
running.
yeah.
People aren't running to your Cameo because you're not on
Unless
the
you're
TV
Darcy.
screen anymore.
in which case you're always
Darcy
relevant.
is always freaking relevant. Darcy
Yes.
and Angela are always relevant.
And Paul.
Always.
And Paul to a certain extent.
I think so.
Like
yeah.
his cameos just need to be him running through a field. I'd pay for that.
I would watch Cameo of Paul running.
You know what you're getting for your next birthday, right, Karina?
Woo!
A montage of Paul running.
Oh God, that would be the best. I would just watch that on repeat.
It might be made for us. We'll get to that later, though, right?
Yeah, we will. Agency, your brain's been working overtime over there, hasn't it?
He has a theory.
You guys, be afraid. When Agency has a theory, he comes to you and says, "Oh my God, you guys, I have a theory." Be afraid.
It's okay. I'll be very gentle with this theory. So you guys know that a big factor in Ji-hoon's story is that he has this $30,000 worth of debt that he claims came as a result of him being involved in some criminal activity. And the way the story frames it is that he was selling stolen cell phones. You know, he had a business where he repaired the cell phones and then he resold them to other people. Now, he claims none of the phones were stolen, but Devin concludes that they were stolen, and TLC just kind of lets that hang there, and that's what you're sort of led to believe. And I've never found that particular story to be that convincing. South Korea is a very high-tech country. A lot of the rich East Asian countries are do not have a very big secondhand scene. For example, in Japan, secondhand things are not people don't buy secondhand stuff.
Well, he said that it was a fine because he got arrested or whatever, and it was a fine in relation to that. Which I don't know the South Korea justice system, but paying a fine for that, something like that, just seems weird.
It's off. It's off. Something feels wrong about it. So I've thought through this a bit, and one of the things that he mentioned is that he was repairing these phones and then going into China to resell them. Now, we know that Ji-hoon is not perhaps the most studious of individuals. So I highly doubt that he's going to a place like Shanghai or Beijing to resell these phones. I don't think he speaks sufficient Mandarin to go and have a good repurposed cell phone business, which means the only place he could realistically go to sell those phones and be able to communicate with his buyers are the Korean-speaking sections of China, which are up in the far northeast, which means that most likely what he got tagged for was for violating something regarding North Korean trade sanctions, right? Because you have a lot of Korean-speaking Chinese who are up in the northeast part of China that borders North Korea, and they can act as middlemen to get goods to sell into North Korea. Now, there's a very heavy sanctions regime in place. The United States leads a lot of those sanctions. South Korea has its own implementation of those sanctions. And if we understand that that those sanctions were to encompass selling phones to the North Korean regime or letting them get into North Korea, or if we understood that things like iPhones have things inside them that are considered dual use, meaning that they have a civilian and military application, then that could be seen as a violation of trade sanctions. And South Korea's intelligence agency is very sophisticated, very astute. And I don't think Ji-hoon is quite up to the task of outwitting South Korea's intelligence service. As much as I like the guy, I don't think he's quite up to the task. So my guess is that he was selling to some shady dealers up in the Korean-speaking section of China. It's a really short flight for him to get up there. He got caught when he returned, and they slapped a fine on him because they saw, like, okay, this is just a kid trying to make a buck. He's not like some unscrupulous agent working for Kim Jong-un. So we're just going to give him this fine to teach him a lesson and let him know don't be doing that shit again. That's my theory.
So you think he was selling the phones to people in China who would then resell them to people in North Korea, and doing that is a violation of the trade sanctions against trading into North Korea, because North Korea is bad and we don't trade with them. And so if you do trade with them, you're violating that. So he got in trouble because he is in essence trading to North Korea.
He's bringing supply that could then be used to bring forbidden materials into North Korea, whether either because they're dual use or because they're just forbidden under some sort of a sanction regime. And I think Ji-hoon just didn't know. That would be my guess. Now, again, this is just a theory. This is just a theory of mine. Okay, so there's one more part to this. Why did TLC make up this lie? Because selling stolen phones is something that even the dumbest human being understands. Violating trade sanctions with regard to potential dual-use technology with being brought into North Korea is way too many fucking words for your typical 90-day viewer. Now, I know everyone who listens to this podcast is in the big brain club, so you guys are fine with it. But think about that other 90-day viewer who's just a dumbass. They don't want to they don't want to do that. So they said stolen phones because that makes more sense to people rather than having to explain international trade sanction policy. Now, this is just my theory. I haven't done a sufficient depth of research to see if that's actually true. Any South Korean lawyers, especially ones who specialize in trade sanctions, who want to reach out to me to tell me if I'm on track or not, you are welcome to do so. I would love to hear from you.
We'll look at the big brain on Brad.
Yeah.
Until your arch nemesis sends you a message and goes, actually.
If Lou Tippett wants to argue with me about trade sanctions, I will do that. We'll do an episode of the Agency show about that.
Oh my God.
Man. Face off. A feud. Let's
I'll
do
face
it.
off with Lou.
Do you guys all feel smarter now for having listened to that theory? Yeah, I thought so.
Go impress your friends at cocktail parties with that nonsense.
I think I'm going to put that in my back pocket for all the cocktail parties I go to.
Right. So as people slowly start walking away from you, you're like, maybe that wasn't the best.
It wasn't the best icebreaker to use. Let me tell you about international trade sanctions and 90 Day Fiance and how they collide. No?
I don't know. Some parties I go to, the people I hang out with would probably actually eat that up. So, I mean, pick your audience, folks.
We do. So, I mean, there's got to be more of us, right? We get downloads. We get a lot of downloads on our show. So people obviously...
If this tickled you in just the right way, let us know that you like this stuff.
This tickled you in
just the right way.
In your sensitive area.
Speaking of sensitive areas...
Can we talk about sensitive areas?
Please.
So this is just like a speculation, right? And I know that I think
we normally don't deal in speculation,
but it made sense. And it was an article I came across. I think it was Soap Dirt. I know. But it actually got me thinking that, so Angela went in for that whole like procedure where she was probably getting a biopsy, right? She got the nitrogen, all that procedure stuff. Well, the place that she went to is also specializes in vaginal rejuvenation. And I didn't think anything of it until she was denying Michael. Like, she was denying Michael access to her cooter, as she said.
Right.
Remember? She's like, you don't get that for a long time.
Right.
So I was like, but why not? Because we know Angela was like a freak the last time she saw him. She was like pulling out the Hershey syrup and mummifying him and all kinds of stuff. And
right.
So why would she now be like, you can't? And I don't know if I don't think she's the person who's like, wait until the wedding.
No.
At this point. So I really think that she got like a rejuvenation down there for the wedding night, and that's why they can't do anything, because it's still,
healing,
marinating or healing.
Or she's just saving it. She's like, you can't have your cake yet.
Or
You're
she's
gonna wait.
saving it. She's like, you need to act right or you don't get this rejuvenated cooter, damn it.
Well, she was denying him, and that doesn't make sense for her. So
that's not like Angela at all.
So it does lead to speculation. Why was Angela denying Michael? The fact is that we go, Hanakawa mostly, when they show places on the show, like where someone gets waxed, where somebody gets their hair done, whatever, next thing you know, Hanakawa is like 6 pages deep in the owner's cousin's Instagram. Right? And she's looking at like wedding pictures of the owner's daughter or something.
I'm curious. I know,
so she
but
gets
it's just
all
like,
up in there.
It's just like when she was getting Botox, but it was actually a freaking vaccination. Like
an MMR vaccination.
Like, I hope that TLC isn't trying to make some like spoof off of her possibly having cancer or what did they call it, a fibroid. I'm not quite sure what they categorized it as, but I mean, there could be, I mean, they could have made sure about those things before they did this procedure, just as a safeguard,
right, Right. They could have done all of it. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I honestly think that she got it renovated down there for Michael.
Nice.
So here's the question is, if she actually did, when are they going to announce it on the show?
I think he's just going to be happier after the wedding night.
But that's the kind of shit they want to. They want to have her like, they're going to time just right. Like, I
and
got a surprise for Michael on the wedding night.
No, I don't think I want this confirmed. I think I just wanted to say as
Michael, if you're listening, tell us. Let us know the truth.
She got the rejuvenation for real. Sorry,
like
it's really bad.
The morning after the wedding, they're going to have it filmed and they're going to be in bed together. And she's going to be like, how did you like that compared to last time we had? Yeah, because I got it rejuvenated. Or whatever word she's going to use for that.
She's I can't hold my keys in it anymore, but
I did that for you, Michael.
Oh my God.
How'd you like that? It was nice and tight, wasn't it? No. I'm like a virgin again.
They have surgery for that too.
Angela, the 15-year-old virgin. Speaking of virgins, who believes that Jenny took Sumit's virginity?
He took.
See, I'm actually a person who would believe that, though.
She took.
Here's the
took
argument
Sumit's
for
white
it.
woman virginity.
Here's
Old
the
white
argument
woman
for it,
virginity.
though. It was like
But he was married, though, wasn't he?
Well, he was married after he and Angela met. Like, he and Angela were dating.
He and Jenny. Whoa, whoa,
Jenny,
whoa,
Angela.
whoa.
Oh
Listen,
my God.
Mima is something else, but she don't got time for two continents.
No, she don't. Okay, no. So he and Jenny were together after he revealed himself the catfish, right? And he was actually Sumit, not this Michael Jones guy. And she was like,
Right.
oh, well, you're cute anyway. And I I'm in love with you anyway. So they were still together. She went to India to visit and she actually stayed with them and his family. They didn't like her. And so
I wonder why.
So she went back to the United States and she and Sumit had a little bit of a breakup. During that time is when he was forced into an arranged marriage, quote unquote, because I don't think Sumit stands up for anything, but whatever. So I don't think he threw a fit or anything. I think he was, you're getting arranged married. We don't like Jenny.
I think that's one thing you just don't go against.
Yeah. So they said, we don't like Jenny. We found you a wife here, and they got married. And then he and Jenny got back together, but he never told Jenny about this for a couple of years. As we know, we saw that play out on the show. And so Sumit was of the age that they get arranged married, right? So it is possible if he was really like following all of the, you know, cultural norms, it's possible that he did not have sex prior to his arranged marriage or prior to Jenny and then his arranged marriage.
I don't know if they're thinking this far ahead, but do you think this is a way of kind of, I don't know if this is the right word, like honor or something to his wife that he's divorcing? Because he kind of ruined her chances for remarriage, right? Like, I don't know the cultural aspect of it, but divorce I don't think is looked upon very well. But if there's an aspect of it of, well, it wasn't consummated.
Oh.
Publicly saying that, does that change maybe her position in getting remarried? Because I know we don't know her identity, and that's fine. But, I mean...
I don't know that they've made that claim. You know, Sumit has never said, well, I've never had sex with her. Because they've been married for years, and if he's pretending like the good little son that he is, you know he's having sex with her.
I could see him avoiding that, just like he's avoiding his parents by moving far away.
He's had a headache every night for 2 years.
Exactly. He has sexual anorexia.
Oh God, no! If you don't know what we're talking about,
But
go
you
tune
would
into
if
our Patreon.
That's right. This is why you should join, because then you'll get all these jokes.
So yeah, that was just where my mind was going. Like, why would you even bother saying something like, I took his virginity? It's like, why is this season so oversharing?
Or is this just a lie that he told Jenny to make her feel special?
Exactly. You know,
It could be that too.
That was my first thought was he's lied about everything else. Why wouldn't he lie about that to make her feel special? I don't know why that
would make her excited, but...
Oh, everyone likes to be someone's first, I guess.
Yeah, special. Yes. That he saved himself for her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. Just a thought.
I see it as like wearing a new pair of shoes. They haven't...
Or he used that as an excuse to raw dog her.
No! Stop!
I want Karina to take an STD and pregnancy test before we get physical. But I want us to have some fun together before I bring that up.
And now it's time for the fraud so far. This week, we're bringing you up to speed with Paul and Karina, or as I like to call them, Paul and Karina, because that is how they say each other's names on the show. So he is not Paul, he's Paul.
He says it differently all the time, but then he goes like Karina, like he says it like he's annoyed with her name, Karina.
But he doesn't say that A. It's like Kree-E-N-Y. Karina. Because he speaks so fast. He's one of my favorite characters because he's one of the Americans that needs subtitles. And I love that. Anytime you have to give subtitles to the American, it's like, oh, that's beautiful.
So who else gets that honor? Debbie.
Debbie gets it because she talks like she's got marbles in her mouth. Yeah.
She's got marbles somewhere.
I you know what? It's crazy how I didn't even think about that when they were subtitling the Americans. I'm like, damn it. Now I'm going to pay attention to that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed it when I first watched. I fell in love with Paul and Karina on their first season. They're 90-day royalty. They have been on for several seasons. They're up there with Darcy and Angela. It's funny how the stickiest, like not literally, couples come from Before the 90 Days. So these guys, they started on season 1 of Before the 90 Days. And it was researching Paul that got me into the online fandom of 90 Day. We talked once about, in one of our episodes, about the history of the Fraudcast. I think that's also on our Patreon.
That's also on our Patreon. Boy, you guys are missing out if you're not subscribed. It's
So
only $3
story,
a month and you get all this great stuff. I mean, what's $3?
So our origin story, part of it is that I was researching Paul and what he had done, because what was his big secret. And I was researching that when I came across the online 90-day fandom, and then that sort of propelled me to where I am. So I thank Paul for that, really.
So for those who haven't been here the whole time, let's give you a little bit of history of these two. Paul is from Louisville, Kentucky, which happens to be where I am from originally. I was born there and lived there a short while. We never see
Coincidence?
separated at birth. Definitely
Maybe.
not. Definitely
Maybe.
not. We never see Paul's dad on the show, but his mom really kind of seems to hate him.
His dad's kind of crazy, from what I understand.
Well, he's not crazy enough to be on the show, so he's got that going in his favor.
Yeah, that's true.
Karina is from an unpronounceable city deep in the Amazon, but she can't even get Prime there, so I don't know what the fuck's up with that. And she comes from a, quote, fucking wooden hut. That's Paul's quote, not mine. With her mom and dad. And her dad is a retired cop.
And so Paul and Karina, they met on a dating app. So she doesn't get Prime there, but she does get, Match.com or
What the hell kind of Amazon is it? They
BrazilianCupid.com
can't get Prime there. Jesus.
She's got phone service, so she's on some dating app. We don't know which one it was, but they met. And so before the 90 Days, season 1 was about them meeting for the first time, and season 2 was about them getting married. And if you haven't watched Before the 90 Days, season 1, you've got to go do that, because some of the best stuff came out of that season. And you would understand why he's called Poop Water Pole, right?
You'd understand the term the sheath.
The penis sheath and his 18 cargo containers and
the first time we ever saw the pole run.
The pole run, the STD pregnancy test, which is like STD, like it's a one word. He says it like it's one word. And that's when you really need the subtitles so he understand he's asking her for an STD pregnancy test to make sure she was clean and pure before he got intimate with her.
Did they make that combo?
I think
don't
it's
know.
just two things.
I know it's two things. I was just wondering if, like, the way he said it made it sound like it was a combination pack, like one stream, two results. Yeah.
Yeah. Gee, that's some incredible technology they got.
If only Ed knew about that before he harassed poor.
Yeah.
Paul was the original STD.
He was the progenitor of this. Also, that's where the mugged by a machete thing comes from.
And Paul goes running into the woods. And that's also the season where we learned that he has this criminal history.
I have a lengthy criminal record. I've been in jail, I've been in prison for numerous things. I was accused of burning my own house, burning my own personal property, and spent about 18 months in jail.
So then they were on The Other Way, season 1, since Karina got pregnant. And Karina's like 20 years old. She's really, really, really young. Karina gets pregnant, and Paul wants to be with her in Brazil, so they go to The Other Way. Now they're on Happily Ever After season 5 with Paul bringing Karina to the U.S. And as we saw, trying to impress her with our
5 for 5
feminine hygiene products and 5 for 5 baby wipes at the local Kroger.
It's 5. No, it's 5.
It's okay, Paul.
You have to get 5. No, it's 5. You say 5.
I felt bad because Karina was just like, I don't need this. It looked like he had diapers, honestly.
Well, I feel like these are all TLC produced things, because which
there's a long history
of
go
in there and buy
in the supermarket.
Go buy her
scenes.
tampons, or ask, dude, can you explain how tampons work? I could see Paul actually thinking they're serious and they want to know.
Well, also they know that they can get him to do the famous gesture again. Because that's like one of the most enduring 90-day memes there is.
Right.
Iconic even.
It is an iconic.
She did mention that she didn't need them right now. I think people were like, why wouldn't she need them, right? She's still breastfeeding, right?
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
Maybe that goes to the pregnancy rumors. Who knows?
Ah.
But TLC really, honestly, they don't need to set this stuff up for them, because they could just follow Paul around Nat Geo documentary style and make a whole series on him. Or, as I've wanted them to do for years, strap a GoPro to his head and just edit the footage together. You're sitting on a gold mine, TLC, so just get your act together.
They need their own spinoff, for sure.
Yes.
They do. They do.
For sure.
Yeah, I would watch just raw footage streamed of Paul and Karina trying to exist together. I would just watch that. Streamed like Big Brother style. Anyway,
Right. Naked and
Yes,
afraid.
90 days of Big Brother. Oh man. TLC.
We could put them all in a house.
oh my God. And then just
Yes.
watch the footage.
Yes.
Yes.
Only
you
one
could-
would emerge though. Like
Then you could-
they'd be
that-
like,
that-
"This
Hunger
isn't a
Games.
murder show, guys." And they're like, "It doesn't matter."
So it's like 90 days of the real world Survivor.
Hunger Games style. Like, anyway, so Paul and Creanie have lots of drama, like always. And this comes mostly from the fact that they're both like Jekyll and Hyde type of characters, right? Like they flip, their switches flip so quickly from one to the other. So Paul, he's sincere and he's genuine in who he is, but he handles stress so poorly half the time that he's like freaking out and being irrational and running into a chicken coop chanting, calm, calm, calm. True story actually happened last season. Also, Creanie is very sincere. I don't know. She's so young and she's very childish. So she's often just kind of a brat and she doesn't know anything about life in the world or whatever, anything, how to function with other people other than like her family and stuff in her little Amazon jungle world. So but they stay together because they love each other. I don't know. Maybe neither can really do better than each other. They do seem to love each other, but they also seem completely bipolar together. Not that I'm making any kind of mental health assessment of them. It's just an expression.
Well, they have a bipolar relationship. Like we see it, they're on, they're off, and it could be in like 4-hour time span.
Right. They're always threatening divorce, and then, Karini's always threatening divorce, and then they don't get divorced. And it's
The thing is that their sensible switches are never on at the same time. One's always on while the other one's is off. And they can't figure out how to synchronize. You ever have like, you ever in your house, right? And you've got your panel of light switches and like, you can't get them all to be up or down. And so you're like always,
My kitchen's
flicking.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's their relationship in a nutshell.
Yes, I agree. Paul has a criminal past, as we mentioned. He went to prison for arson on his own house. He also got a restraining order taken out by an ex-girlfriend against him, but I think he had one against her too. How reformed he is could be debated, though it gets played up a lot for laughs by memers. And, to be fair, Paul plays along with it. He laughs along with them. So
That's another one of my favorite things about Paul is that he is very cool about all the jokes. Like he kind of gets that he's a bit of a mess and he's a bit of a goofball, but he's good spirited about it. And I appreciate that about him.
well, and he admits that he's somewhere on the spectrum too. So, that maybe plays into his behavior. I'm not entirely sure. He's also kind of a germaphobe, which is why he was always talking about the poop water, and he worries about waterborne parasites. And he's where we learned about the fish that can swim up your urethra, which is why you need the penis sheath to cover you when you're in the Amazon River.
I had this little penis, I guess like a sheath protection bag. I put a condom on, have that to hold that on.
Definitely don't want nothing swimming up my penis.
Yeah, so that's where a lot of that comes from.
And so as we've kind of mentioned before, TLC tends to play them pretty straight, although we've been seeing a lot more stage scenes like the grocery store in this season of Happily Ever After, because Happily Ever After is basically just the Real Housewives of 90 Day Fiance. It's very much like scripted reality TV, which is, and so even our the ones for whom you need it the least are being kind of roped into that BS. But in terms of them frauding us, they're actually one of the least fraudy couples, which I think is part of why we like them so much. There's a genuineness to them.
Yeah, genuinely. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but then there's all of this stuff that they put out on social media, right? Like Karina's asking for divorce again, and we're going to get divorced. They're, how many times they were going to get divorced, right? And they're never really going to get divorced. They just keep saying it for attention, I don't know. Are they really trying to get divorced? Is that genuine? That's how, is their relationship just that volatile, which is kind of what I think. I do think that Karina's starting, divorce all the time. But the recent thing, right? So the rumor is that Karina's pregnant again. And this has been going on for a while. And in fact, it was confirmed to me that she was pregnant. But so here's the thing. So the rumor mill now is that they're not going to be on the tell-all because of her pregnancy. But he's been posting a lot of pictures and videos of her lately, and she's clearly not very pregnant. If she is, she's not showing at all. And she would be about 5 or 6 months now based on when the announcement happened of the pregnancy. Also, she was in the hospital recently.
Yeah, she was in the hospital recently, and I'm making the assumptions on the experiences I had when I went to the hospital and I was pregnant. And, you know, they strap you up with monitors for the baby. And like the picture they had of her, it could have been around the time she was being discharged, but it was like there was nothing that indicated that she was pregnant. And she didn't look pregnant, but at 5 or 6 months, it's give or take if you look pregnant or not.
With the second child and, you know, showing
It's
earlier,
hard.
it's hard to know for sure, right?
And she was sitting. So, I mean, there's a lot of factors that you can't say yes or no, but I think that was back in February, right?
I believe so. Yeah, it was February that it was quote unquote confirmed to me.
Yeah, so that's just, I don't know. That's strange. I would have thought that they would have announced it already, but since they're on the show, they could be waiting to announce that.
It could be a plot device.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, like,
Maybe there's a plot line regarding it. Yeah.
dun, dun, or a
Just gotta
special,
follow
because we
it.
know we do that.
Paul and Karina's one good day, and now she's pregnant again.
Or, you know, they have had a loss before, right? They had a late term loss. So
Yeah.
prior to having Pierre. So, I mean, that would be heartbreaking if that happened, if that was the case in this.
Oh,
Right.
God.
And that would deter me from wanting people to know either, or
Right.
announcing for me, I should say. So
Yeah. And that would be, I mean, that would be absolutely heartbreaking if that is a plot point that we end up seeing.
That'd be bad.
That she was pregnant and then she loses it because they did that before, right? They showed that all the first time and it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So,
And unfortunately, it's not like one of those things where you're like, TLC, quit reading from the same playbook. Like, it's not under TLC's control. So it is actually genuinely sad when it happens.
yeah. All right. Let's go to Katrina's court. So this week I had some runners up, and I had, you know, debated again and again. Brittany and Yazan came into my debate because of the whole scene after meeting with the parents, where it was just like, it was triggering to me. And I don't come from a background of abusive relationships. So for it to be triggering to me, that kind of yelling and screaming at each other, like, that made me just like kind of cringy. I can't imagine what people who have had verbally and physically abusive relationships were feeling with that. Like, I feel like they should have put a trigger warning on that because it affected me and I don't have that history. So that kind of made me angry, the way that they were talking to each other. And then then he made up and was like, oh, everything's fine. Here's some rose petals. Like, that made me angry. Like, I feel like he's going to be the topic of this at some point, but I ended up choosing what I think we all were talking about, which is Angela and her rude freak out meeting the female expats that Michael set up, that we actually started the show talking about. So what we saw here was, you know, Michael going to set her up with, let's talk to these people, and he made it sound like it was going to be his male friends, and they show up and it's these 3 young females, and Angela was like, fuck no, and she turns around and storms off, and she starts yelling and screaming at Michael. And this wins in Katrina's court because, well, I guess I should say it loses. I don't know. It made me very angry because she was so rude to those females that were sitting there that did nothing wrong, right? And she's so rude and it's so mean. And then she's just verbally abusing Michael, and he's just sitting there taking it because he knows her, right? And this is just, oh, how, you know, this is how you do it. You know, you just have to sit in there and take it from her. And I think that that's ridiculous. And then she pulls out that, well, there's no wedding gonna be happening. And I hate this. I hate it when people use that kind of stuff as like a weapon in a time of anger. You like Karina constant yelling, let's get a divorce when they're having a fight. Like, you can't just throw those words around. That's not okay. And not that Angela and Michael have had like not like they're the trophy of functional relationships. But over the years of seeing them, we've kind of grown to like them and think that, oh, maybe they really do love each other, right? But then she treats him like this, and it's like, what the hell are you even doing in this, Michael? I know you've invested so much time in this already, but really, is it worth it? So, case dismissed. Angela, you are sentenced to a lifetime of thinking you're getting Botox, but you're actually getting the MMR vaccine.
I just I'd like to raise a point of order, not a point of order.
The court will recognize.
All right.
The gentleman sitting on the left.
It's funny that the term females has become so ubiquitous in the 90-day world thanks to baby girl Lisa. It's kind of like that scene in Macbeth where Lady Macbeth is trying to wash away the blood and the damn spot just won't come out. That's baby girl Lisa's influence on all of us.
Is it? Mm-hmm. Females.
That's right. Get them females.
It makes me so angry because, like, why are you getting mad at these women who did nothing to you except for exist in your same hemisphere? Like, that's the only thing they did wrong by existing. Young women existing.
She was really nice to them, though. I would say she was upset, but she shook their hand. Nice to meet you.
Oh, and she was rude as hell on that. She was.
I don't know.
Nice
I think she could have been more mean. Like, she basically went in there and, screamed at Michael. But I don't know. I think that she was at that boiling point when she shook their hands. Like, all right, bitches, I gotta go before I explode.
I would say that for Angela, for like just about to lose her ever loving shit, Angela, that's about as good as you could possibly get. That's her trying very hard.
I wasn't saying she was an example of politeness. That was polite for Angela.
And that's not okay. It's not okay to be like that. It is just not okay to treat people like that. They did nothing wrong. And it goes to the bigger issue with Angela, which is that females can't exist in her world, right? Because if they exist in the same breathing space that Michael does, Michael gets a tirade of verbal abuse and probably physical too. We've seen some of that.
She was probably freaking out about at least 5 things. At that moment.
That's not okay. I understand that she was very stressed out about her mom being sick, right? Like, she'd had that phone call with Skyla, or that phone call came in the middle. I'm not sure. I don't remember the timing of that. She was very upset about that. I get that. And that she could have been, directing her anger at the wrong person. But we've seen Angela like this before. And it's just not okay that she thinks that it's okay for her to treat somebody like that because other females existed in the same breathing space as Michael. I mean, yeah, he did the BJ for real. We know that happened, and that's hard to get past, but she's always been like this, regardless of that actual history. Before she knew about that, she's like this. And that's not okay.
Yeah, I'd like to learn about what Angela's issue is with younger women, because we've seen her get really intense with people before. On the season 2 tell-all of Before the 90 Days, she really got in Rachel's face. And then in the tell-all for season 3 of Before the 90 Days, she got really up in Avery's mom's face.
Right.
And it was like really intense hostility. I don't think that was performed for the cameras. There's something about women who are younger than her that really gets under her skin, and I'm not completely sure how to explain it.
It's entirely possible that, like, maybe her former husband or father of her kids or whoever, like, she's been in relationships with in the past, have maybe cheated on her with younger women, left her for younger women. I have known women in my life who have had that experience, and as a result, don't like women that are like of the same type that they were left for or cheated on for or whatever, even though it's no fault of their own, right? They're just existing, and she gets mad.
It could be a reflection of her insecurities. It could be I don't know. I feel like there's an aspect to Angela's past we don't have a lot of insight in that could explain why she gets like that. But it
doesn't make it okay. It may explain it, but it doesn't make it okay to treat people in an abusive way.
Oh, of course not. I'm just trying to,
I've worked through my issues, right? Like, I had a history of issues. I work through them so that I don't sit there and make, these verbal and physical tirades against my current partner for something that it's not anything he's at fault for.
Well, that also means that she has to think she has an issue.
That's true.
She probably thinks Michael has an issue for bringing women around her when he should know better.
Right, but I just, what
I'm
is
not
the
saying
problem?
It's okay. I'm just saying it's kind of an argument into
like,
the nether.
Is he going to walk over? What's the issue? What's she concerned about? He's going to walk over to one of these three women at this place and just drop his pants and get a blowjob?
Well, he did
that would
before.
be cool.
Like, is that what she's afraid of? Why is she so afraid of these women? Lacey, what does she think is going to happen?
Well, I think she could have been, and again, we're not excusing the behavior, but I think she's freaking out about like 3 or 4 simultaneous things at once. First is that she sees Michael with women that are younger than her, and she perceives that as a threat, so that gets activated. She doesn't really know that Michael's real motivation is to try to convince her to live in Nigeria, although she sort of hints that that's a no-go for her. So she's already a little bit on defensive that way. But she might perceive it as she's going to have 3 young women tell her how she needs to be. She might think that he's brought like it's almost like an intervention crew.
Like an intervention?
Yeah, to tell Angela, Angela, you got to stop doing this. You got to do, this is how you need to treat your man. And I think it's pretty safe to say we know she hates being talked down to by younger women. Like, because I kind of feel like when like Rebecca did it, or when like Avery's mom or Rachel, like she seems to be very sort of like respect your elders, but like you respect your elders, and people who are not your elders need to shut the hell up. I kind of get that, a little bit of that vibe from her. So it's like maybe that's the third thing. She's stressed about her mom. Being in Nigeria is stressful for her. Just try like at least 5 things going on that are like stressing her out in that moment, and she just completely goes apoplectic when they all activate in her brain at once, and she treats Michael in a undignified manner. That's just my theory.
It's there's a lot to unpack with all of that. So
yeah.
And I am not a psychiatrist, psychologist. I'm not in the mental health field. I'm not somebody who can diagnose or have any, you know what I mean? I'm just a normal person who finds her behavior abhorrent. So.
Yeah.
Gavel dropped?
Gavel.
He'll make up by next episode. It's cool, you guys.
Oh, yeah.
We know they get married.
We know they get married.
They'll be fine.
And case dismissed.
All right, so now we have our social media roundup. So we're going to start out with Avery, who was dropped by a sponsor. She was dropped by CBD Express Sugar for her political views. I don't know if anyone caught it, but, she's been making a lot of comments on her Instagram about Black Lives Matter, about COVID not being real, so they kind of just dismissed her.
Yeah, they dismissed her. I think their specific comments had to do with her comments about Black Lives Matter, and about how, because she has made comments about, all lives matter, the Black Lives Matter movement is terrible, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but the thing said specifically, like, we support the Black Lives Matter movement, and we cannot have somebody representing our brand that feels differently.
Yeah, her views were conflicting with theirs, so and it's kind of unfortunate, when sponsors start dropping you, and you start to feel a little bit of the heat from the cancel culture that we have. Like, as soon as the show ended, she did this 180, and
Yeah, we didn't see any of that with her on the show.
No,
It was all
but
coming out afterwards.
We all know the show. People show their best sides, as she said.
Yeah. And anyway.
Next up, if anyone is in the YouTube world, PewDiePie, I always like saying that, PewDiePie, is now making videos about Paul. So I guess Paul is going to be the next meme. So we had Big Ed, who was the first meme. And it kind of runs through that, right? As soon as, you know, the meme culture grabs onto things. Now, if you search it, you find it. I don't know if I'm ready for...
You know that edgy Zoomers are going to start making pole running memes.
I think it's funny for us is that, like, we watch the show and we know, but people are... Like, this is gonna... Actually, we could probably make this entry in the Understand Your Meme. Or Know Your Meme.
KYM, yeah. The repository of all knowledge of the internet.
Agency, get on it and make it so that people know, because as soon as they see him running up with his diarrhea run, they're gonna be like, what the hell is this? So,
I'll have the gifts ready, guys. Don't worry.
awesome. And next on our roundup, last thing I have is Erica shows off her new man on Instagram. So she made it official that she is dating someone. And no, agency, it's not Adam.
I really, it breaks my heart. He torpedoed Stephanie like a goddamn ninja master, and she doesn't even have the courtesy to fall right into his arms. Ugh, Erica. I know that I'm not like a licensed relationship counselor or anything, but I will set your life straight. Adam is the man for you.
He just hypnotized her. He's like,
That's right. I'm gonna release some special Adam themed ASMR just for Erica.
meanwhile, Adam's preparing his laxative chocolates for this new guy.
Oh my
right.
God.
Come on over for board games, buddy.
If you guys don't know, Agency has like a hard on for Adam, and
No,
you can go watch his videos on
listen,
the Agency show.
I think it's just because he sees himself when he looks at Adam.
I wish.
No
Chatham.
effing
Chatham.
lie.
Did you call
I
him
wish
Chatham?
I called him the Chatham. I wish I could be that cool.
So apparently, I got a little birdie told me that that's what he is called at work now. His workmates now call him that, based on
That's
your
amazing.
video.
That's the
There
There
you
you
video.
go. There's your award.
Oh, my life has
So
been
I saved that
officially been worth
information
living.
for you. I saved that information for you for this recording to let you know
Oh my
that.
goodness.
My life is complete.
All right.
That's all I have. We're done.
Now it's time for Ask the Visa Officer.
All right, guys, we got some good stuff for you this week. So I want to offer you guys a few thoughts about something we saw come up on Happily Ever After. Our boy Sinjin was blaming the K1 for why he couldn't go back to South Africa after his grandmother unfortunately passed. And put on our memory caps, we're going to remember that a certain Marcel was able to go back to Turkey and come back. So why couldn't Sinjin? Why is he blaming the K1 when we know that this is actually a possible thing to do? Well, the reason I would speculate is because he probably didn't realize that was a thing you can do on the K1. Most people don't. It's a single entry visa. People assume single entry means one time. That's a pretty reasonable assumption. You know, there are a lot of nuances to the K1 program that most people don't know about. So he can be forgiven for not knowing about
I mean,
that.
when Marcel happened, the whole Marcel thing happened, you had to go look it up, and you're an expert.
Yeah, we
So,
spent like 5 episodes dealing with that.
yeah, it was pretty complicated trying to explain it all. So for Sinjin not to know that was a possibility, plus he might not have had the money, even if he knew about it, but it was such a small little thing. Why would he know about it? Nobody knew about it. When Marcel did it, we're like, can he do that?
Yeah.
No, he can't. And we found out, there's this
actually-
little thing that says,
Actually, yes, he
he
can. So yeah, I think the real reason is because he didn't have any money. And people might say, oh, well, TLC doesn't want to run the same story in 2 seasons. They didn't have, they could have just revealed that on the tell-all. He didn't have to be, like, it actually would have made a lot of sense if it like, let's say it happened when
Well, and it makes for a sad
Tania-
story
yeah.
about him.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sad and I miss South Africa because they're going to go to South Africa.
Yeah.
And we're going to film there. So
Yeah.
Well, they could have made it more dramatic, and they could have had, like, Tanya goes to Costa Rica. He gets pissed off that she actually left him, goes back to South Africa, and then they have some, big conversation.
Oh,
like
see?
they could
Again,
have
us with
made
the
it
storylines.
better. Right? Like he gets pissed off because she's having too much fun with the dance instructor. He goes back to South Africa, does his stuff, and but they could have made it better. But I also think that with the time frame of the filming and her being gone and how they probably had to crunch a lot of filming into a little bit of time, it was probably just not
Too much to have him go to South Africa.
it wasn't an option and they didn't have the money.
Well, plus now we have in Happily Ever After. Now we have the sob story, right? Oh, I didn't get to go home for Graham's birthday. Blah 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 blah. I'm sad. I miss South Africa, and now they're gonna go during Happily Ever After. They're gonna go to South Africa, and they'll
I
get
would
some
just be
filming
like,
done there.
St. John, do you know how fucking expensive the K-1 visa process is? For you to sit here and be like, well, I don't want to be here anymore. Well, then you pay me back the $4,000 and then you can take yourself back home.
Oh, that's like the cost of her witch doctor school too.
Oh God. Yeah, why? We haven't seen her make one potion. I'm really disappointed. What the hell?
I know. I was expecting to see like the
fucking Belle Delphine sells her bathwater for $25 a pop. Tania could definitely have like some sort of like her little homeopathic, brew or whatever she could sell on you.
spray or something
Didn't
like that. You
girl
spray it and
get
you find your
in trouble
soulmate.
for selling her bathwater?
No.
No, she
my
got in
God.
trouble for not reporting her money that she made
Oh.
from YouTube and selling her bathwater. That's why she got in trouble with the feds.
This was a topic of conversation while I was at the beach last week with
Yep.
the teenager who knows these people and these Twitchers and PewDiePie. He knows Ed
that's
not
the-
because
that's
I
the
watch him and do a podcast about the show, but
Right.
because PewDiePie talks about him. That's how he knows.
Exactly.
He walked into the room once. He walked into the room, and was like, "Oh, that's Ed." I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah, she's on Twitch, right?
She's on Twitch. She has a Patreon, I think. She has an OnlyFans.
She has an OnlyFans now.
She's anywhere money can be made by simps. And
That's right. She is like one of the she's like one of the queen of e-girls.
She's the MasterCard of simps.
Yeah, she is.
Accepted anywhere you go.
Well, she also creates MasterCard moments, right? She's got she's known for her Ahegal face. She's got the bathwater. She did their $10 a piece Gamer Girl condoms and then wrote on Twitter, if you buy one of these, you're probably never going to need to use it. Oh man,
That's amazing.
the savagery! Oh,
That's
the savagery!
amazing.
But the Simps still give her money. What the hell, you guys? All right, we're way off track.
Way off track. Bringing it back to.
All right, so let's take some questions from the Instagram that people kindly submitted. Our first question comes from user ELY828. I guess that's Ellie828. And she asks, how can Larissa make money using Cameo if she doesn't have a work visa or a green card? This is a very good question. There are two ways we can think about this. The first is that I don't think Cameo really gives a crap if you have legal status. They just deposit money into your bank account. I don't think they're an E-Verify. That's, I think all you need to, I could, Cameo, if you're listening, you can come tell me how wrong I am and how robust your work authorization things are. But my suspicion is that they don't really check for it. You just need a valid bank account, which is why Soulja Boy got all his money stolen by baby girl Lisa, because it's her bank account that was being used.
Allegedly.
Alleged.
None of that is proven.
Oh, okay. But
It's
the other
two known liars accusing each other of shit. I'm not even wading into that nonsense.
Fair enough. But the other thing too is that I think that Larissa actually probably does have some kind of a work permit. If she is in deportation proceedings, but is mounting an appeal based on a Violence Against Women Act claim, which a lot of us suspect is what she's doing, although her attorney, the DUI doctor, I couldn't believe that, by the way, that's what he calls himself.
Seriously, we got a text saying, does he really call himself the DUI doctor?
He really
Yes.
calls himself the DUI doctor. And for people who think that Larissa's flirting with him and
she is,
he has
probably.
a wife and
That's been that rumor's been squashed.
right.
Yeah.
No
It's
It's just how she is. It's just Larissa.
Yeah. So anyway, So if we suspect that this is the type of appeal that Larissa is mounting, because the backlog is so long with the immigration system, and these things can take years and years to run through, though it's not uncommon for them to issue her employment authorization document so that she can have some way of earning money while all this legal stuff is moving its way through the system. I actually had an immigration attorney pop into the comments on one of my YouTube videos to make this particular point. So that's probably, so to the extent that she is working legally, that's how. It's because USCIS gave her one while her deportation stuff is working its way through the system. But very good question. I'm very grateful that you asked for that. Okay. Our next question comes from user KateG_13, and this is also from Instagram. And this user asks, if the cast were to contact you for advice, would you give it to them? The answer is yes. That's right. In fact, they are welcome to visit my website to request any type of service that would be beneficial, or if they want to do some sort of equivalent exchange. So, for example, they can, promote the website in exchange for a service. I'm also open to those kinds of deals as well. So, cast, you come find me. We'll work this out. I especially know for you, John and Rachel, you guys need some competent advice, as well as Angela, and probably who else? Avery and Omar. Yeah, a lot of you guys need some good advice from somebody who's been in the system. Slide into my DMs. We'll work out something. I'm very amenable. I like to help people. So that
and
was
it's confidential, right?
It is confidential, yeah. Unless you tell me you're like molesting children, then I'll probably have to tell the police.
That could probably be a strike in your.
Yeah, so just make sure you're not doing that. So if you'd like to submit a question for this segment, you can do so either by sending me a direct message on Instagram. I also post on Instagram requests for question submissions. I'll be doing one probably this weekend in anticipation of next week's show. And if you didn't get your question answered on this episode, don't worry. I'll find a way to answer your question through some other mechanism.
All right. And I am Katrina, also known as Frauded by TLC. You can find me on Instagram at that handle. If you're interested in my non-show related life nonsense, which apparently includes wedding planning now, since Hetero Life Mate and I have set a date to get married. So I guess he's fiance, not Hetero Life Mate. So we're going to get married next summer. So if you're interested in any of that, you can follow me at Just Frauded. I would like to thank our patrons since last week. We have for our Patreon. We don't want to call them patrons. Like what are you guys? Fraudsters, fraudies? I don't know what you are, but we're gonna figure it out.
Let's let them
Crowdsource
decide.
that.
I think we need to make a post so that they can say what they'd like to be identified as.
So so submit your ideas to Katrina, and in a week we will announce a poll on next week's show, and then we will announce the results the week after. And now I've committed Katrina to this. You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you.
That's your
very
action item.
much. So I want to thank sincerely our Patreons since last week. We have Grace, Manjit, Rebecca, and Monica have joined us since last week. So thank you very, very much. Lots of content over there. It is patreon.com/thefraudcast. And for $3 a month, you can get, right now it's one episode a week, in addition to the free episode. Every Friday we put out an episode, and it's on a variety of topics. We're covering TV shows called Strange Sex on TLC. We are covering all kinds of interesting topics like marriage overseas, love and marriage in Japanese love hotels we've covered, know your visa scams. We're doing a series on that. So it's a variety of topics. I think we're looking at going to do the TLC show about the world's smallest woman and the pregnant man and stuff. I think we're going to add that to the lineup. So all kinds of topics covered over there. For $3 a month, you get access to all of that. $5 a month, you get, I will mail you a set of stickers. So please join us over there on the Patreon.
I want to pimp the Discord. You didn't pimp the Discord.
Well, you get access to the Discord and the Facebook page.
But the Discord is where agency is at, and me whenever I have a
Yeah,
break
and
in
I
my-
actually post regularly on the Discord, unlike
That's
other
true.
forums.
And Hetero Life Mate is on the Discord as well. So if you are a Patreon, you get access to our Facebook group exclusive to the Patreon members, as well as a Discord chat, which is actually fairly active. And that's the only place you can find Hetero Life Mate and Agency. Oh, although Agency is now on Instagram.
So is Hetero Life Mate. He's on.
Oh,
he's on
yeah,
the
he
gram
is.
as well.
I just want to give a quick shout out to my friend Jose and his wife Erin and their brand new baby Elodie that was just born. So congratulations to you guys. Enjoy the ride of parenthood. She's adorable.
All right, and you can find me at the usual place at 90 Day Fiance Today and on my YouTube, High Functioning Millennial.
And you can find me at my website, www.askthevisaofficer.com. You can request a variety of services for help with your particular visa-related issue.
Visa-related services, not other services. He doesn't do that kind of stuff.
I mean,
Well,
you
not
don't
on,
know.
Not on that
Well,
website.
maybe he does. I don't know.
In the Discord, hit him up.
Who knows? Maybe he does.
Oh, I also,
Patrons
want,
only.
also want to add that I will be putting out a video this week because as much as I didn't think the OnlyFans would be popular,
They're popular. The OnlyFans reaction videos you're
they're
making.
oddly popular. And I'm like, really, guys? But yeah, I got a request and I am putting that one out later this week. So
Woohoo. Can't wait for that.
yeah. One hint, it has to do with the back end. Ta-da!
What? Okay.
Thank you.
And Agency, you have a YouTube also.
It's right. The Agency show on YouTube. Go check that out. I think we're at, 9 videos uploaded so far. It's been a little bit of a gap. I've been doing 1 or 2 a week, but I was out of town the last 10 days or so. So there'll be another video up whenever it's done. So go check that out. It's a lot of fun. You can also find me on Instagram, as much as I hate being there, at The Real Agency. I've been posting some new things there, not just channel related. I've posted some little games for us to play. So I'll be doing more of that. I got a pretty good response. I'd like to see more people engage. I'll probably share some of the responses I got, but the real point is to compile all the best things together and do some Agency show content with the responses. So check it out. Join the fun. We're all having such a great time, and you don't want to miss out.
Awesome. Well, thank you for listening. That's our show for today. We are the Fraudcast, and we're dumpster diving, so you don't have to.